What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 286, powered by the one and only Golden Eagle Energy Drink. Get your Golden Eagle Energy Drinks at drinkgoldeneagle.com/DMP. They've sponsored all season 4 of the podcast, so please show them love. That's drinkgoldeneagle.com/DMP. Now, I know, I apologize, guys. All right, I didn't have an episode. I skipped an episode because of everything that's going on. You guys already know the Drake versus Kendrick thing. I had an episode planned. I realized, well, actually, I obviously always have the episodes planned, regular schedule, but I realized that, hey, there's so much diss tracks that came out. There's so much that I'm going to have to break down that I just need to skip an episode to kind of just focus on all this stuff. And sometimes you need to do that. I mean, Joe Budden rescheduled his episode because of all the stuff that's going on. Things happen where you're expecting something, you're predicting something, but then, people just decide to do crazy things like this battle. This battle is something that we've never had in hip hop history ever. Like, the way that this is going is something that we've never experienced. So I had decided, let's skip that episode. Let me focus more on these breakdowns. Unfortunately, I had some things personally go on in my life that I had to kind of focus on that, and it took away a little bit of my time for the breakdown. So I'm going to be breaking down the 616 in LA track from Kendrick Lamar towards the end of this podcast. And then on the next podcast, I'm going to break down the Family Matters track and Kendrick's Meet the Grams track. And then on the next podcast, I'm going to break down, the Not Like Us track from Kendrick, and then the Heart Part 6 from Drake. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's more diss tracks coming out. I don't think this is over. I think this is still going to be going on. But I just want to let you guys know why that episode was skipped, because I just had so much going on, and with all those breakdowns and stuff. And there really wasn't much news, to be honest with you guys. Nothing really popped off. I think mainly the attention was Drake and Kendrick Lamar. So I felt like skipping the episode wouldn't really, do anything in terms of I wouldn't be able to deliver really much of an episode on that. It would be a bit of news stuff, which wasn't anything major, and then try to break down a record, but I don't want to do it quickly. There's so much that's come out in this time, but I do want to talk about first my thoughts on this Drake and Kendrick Lamar battle so far. Like I said, I do believe it's not over. I think there's still going to be diss tracks coming out. I think the way Drake has kind of, I guess on the Heart Part 6, you can kind of see his energy is a little off, and he feels like kind of defeated, but the response to that hasn't really been that great. If you go on YouTube, it's got like 1.1 million dislikes and like 600,000 likes. I think the response is really, really bad on that track. Other people feel differently. I'm not swayed really by public opinion and what other people think. I know I get caught in a little bit of the stuff, but at the end of the day, I listen to the music, what I like, what has, what hits the most, what has replay value, what's more scathing, what's delivery's better, what's all that stuff. And that's what I want to talk about. Kind of want to talk about the number one. Let's first talk about the number one thing I hate about this battle. And I think most people would agree with this. I think the stands on either side are unbearable. I think the stands are kind of reaching to extents that it's they're trying to connect dots that are like insane, that I don't think Drake and Kendrick would even think of. Now, I know they're geniuses. They're lyrical geniuses, but you got to think, in the time frame that a lot of these tracks came out, I doubt some connections that some fans are trying to make is just astronomical. Like, social media has kind of ruined rap battles. We're finally getting a rap battle in social media era, like a full-fledged one. We got Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly, but that was literally, the Not Alike track from the Kamikaze album, I believe is the Not Alike. And then Machine Gun Kelly dropped Rap Devil, and then Eminem dropped Kill Shot, and that's it. Any other battles that I can think of? Drake versus Meek Mill, that was a really, really moment for social media as well. But that ended pretty abruptly. I think there was only a couple of tracks that came out. Meek Mill had like one or two, I think. I think he had that 1-0 record, and I don't know if he had another one, if I remember correctly. But I know Drake had Charged Up and Back-to-Back, and that's it. We're done with that. Drake and Pusha T, done with that. Pusha T dropped Infrared. Drake drops Duppy. Pusha T drops Story of Adidon. Done of that. And then there's a bunch of subliminals and little street battles of rappers here and there. Lil Durk versus NBA Youngboy, and but nothing like to a scale of this extent, right? This is the first time we've gotten two of the biggest artists going at each other. Mind you, this is the first time we've gotten it since 2001. I don't count 50 and Ja Rule because 50 wasn't really, like, he was getting, big, no Diddy. He was just getting really, big as an artist. And Ja Rule was already there, so I don't really look at it as like two primetime artists going at it. Last time we got like two big artists going at each other that are established, that are huge, is Nas and Jay-Z. And that was in 2001. So now we're 23 years down the line, 2024, we get a Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, which I love. But I want to talk about the main thing that I hate about it. And a lot of it obviously has to do with the social media stuff, the stands, the reaching, the constant theories of this and that. I think it's taken away from just listen to the music. Do you like the music? Do you like what this artist has delivered as a diss track? And the number one thing that I hate is the gossip talk from both sides, from both Kendrick Lamar and Drake. If you can't prove what you are rapping in these things, I think it's very, very corny, and I think it takes away from the battle. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit of stuff because I know people are going to throw at me, you know what, older diss tracks have rumors or disses that, people that with no proof, right? That's true, right? But that's not the main focus of the track, right? Like when Eazy-E, Real Motherfucking G's, disses Dr. Dre. Dre was a sheet thing. Like it was a line or two to make fun of the person, and then it just kind of it goes on to next bars and other stuff. And I think with Drake and Kendrick, both ends, they've kind of made the gossipy talk the main thing. Drake with the woman beater accusations, with the Dave Free stuff, saying that, hey, Dave Free is the father of one of your children or both your children. And, there's divorce accusations, stuff like that he never really wifed. And they're split, and Kendrick living in New York, and she's, living in L.A., and that's why Kendrick got a penthouse in New York. That stuff I can kind of deal with. It's like, what, cool. But the abuse allegations without like solid proof. There's a video that came up just recently of like some lady that said, hey, Kendrick got involved in something. Media Takeout, by the way, originally reported on this, and they asked Kendrick Lamar about this back in Breakfast Club back in 2000, I believe 14 or 15. And he addressed it. He said, listen, it's fake. It's false. Like, and you got to really, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to start debunking and trying to get into a lot of stuff like that. I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to do what I'm planning on doing when it comes to all these allegations is like a mini documentary or documentary type style where I go over Drake's allegations and Kendrick's and just kind of go over the facts of what's out there. I think that needs to be, I think that somebody needs to do that. And if it's got to be me, I'll do it. But that, to me, this battle with this gossipy talk is where it's gotten really, really corny. It's gotten really stupid. And then you got Kendrick accusing Drake of having a daughter that he's hidden with no proof. I think that takes away from the Meet the Grams diss track. I think it's a masterpiece, but with that daughter portion, with no proof, nothing. Right now, as of the recording of this, I don't know if tomorrow, something happens and Kendrick proves something. I'm just saying, as of the recording right now, because I could be wrong. Who knows? With the pace this battle's going right now as I'm recording this, there could be a new diss track that came out. I don't know. But, accusing somebody of having a daughter that's hidden and then accusing somebody of being a child molester, pedophile, there needs to be more solid proof. Now, there's on both ends, there's things, there's rumors, there's speculations, there's things that look a little weird, where there's smoke, there's potentially fire. I get that, right? But to make it like the main focus of your guys' disses, it takes away from it. Like if it was a line or two, I can be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we'll maybe look into that. We'll talk. But it's become like the main focus, this gossipy talk. And I think Pusha T kind of set this standard and this level of story of Adidon, which he deserves insane praise for, because I think that aura of that diss set this level that, hey, if you don't have a gossipy talk subject that you can reveal that nobody knows about the person, you don't have much of a diss track. And I disagree. I think that is not the standard of diss tracks. We need to remember the standard of diss tracks. And I actually tweeted this out, so I just want to go over what I said because I sometimes don't remember word for word what I say. But I'm glad I tweeted this out because sometimes I tweet my thoughts. So if you're not following me on Twitter, it's at QuakeGW. I said, let's not get lost in what a diss track is. The point is to make clever, witty, direct, and disrespectful lines about the other person. If there are layers to bars, they're somewhat easy to break down with no confusion. If there is confusion in what you said or how you delivered it, you failed in making a successful diss. We never had major confusion on old diss tracks. The reason why there's confusion now is because stans are making connections that are not there and are absurd. Social media caused that. That's what I said, and I'm glad I said it. I'm glad I wrote it down. Sometimes I forget what I say. But yeah, let's not get lost, guys. Treat this battle as a court case, right? All of us that are witnessing this battle, we are the jurors, right? And we make the decision on who wins. Whatever, guilty, not guilty, but whatever. Whoever, in this case, whoever's the winner of a battle, right? And what do jurors have to basically do? They have to not pay attention to media. So in this case, we're not going to pay attention to social media and just media in general. Don't pay attention to all that. Just listen to the evidence, and in this case would be the music. Just listen to the music and then make your decision, not based off of what a stan or what this crazy person is saying. And another thing is what these rap media, hip-hop media platforms are saying. I mean, you got insane biases in this. It is utter. People aren't even hiding their biases. You got academics that just went on, what is that comedian guy's platform? Forgive me for not remembering his name. He's with Charlemagne. He does that show with Charlemagne, The Brilliant Idiots. I forget his name. I apologize. But you got academics going on that guy's platform and just blatantly being biased, saying things like, oh, Drake didn't lose. You know, Kendrick's the one that took it far, and Kendrick's the one that's making all these weird accusations, so Drake had to do it. When that's not the case, guys. If you've been following the whole thing, Drake said, I'll take it there. And he mentioned Whitney, Bodyguard, Whitney line, and that's where, because Kendrick said it on, Euphoria. Hey, we don't have to take it that far. We really don't have to. This could be a friendly fade. It doesn't have to be anything special, or we have to deep dive into people's lives. Let's just make clever, witty, disrespectful lines. So you have media platforms that just, like, there's people from the West Coast that just automatically are siding with Kendrick because they're from the West Coast, and they hate Drake. There's people that just love Drake so much, think that he's been this culture savior that they automatically will just disregard Kendrick. So, don't feed into these hip hop media platforms as well, including me. If I end up becoming, if I show any biases in anything, I think the only thing that people really feel I get biased in is 50 Cent, which I can understand. He is my favorite. So, I can understand that people said to me, hey, Quake, and that people have said this to me, hey, you're biased towards a lot of 50 Cent things. I try to refute that. Like, even in the comments when people say a certain videos, I'll refute it, and then if they have a good point back, I'll be like, you know what, makes sense. But I usually, most of the time, people don't really have a good point when they say that to me. But, with academics, like, people in that show, what's his name? Andrew Schultz is his name. There you go. Yeah, when he was with Andrew Schultz or whatever, Andrew was like, no, man, it was Kendrick that started this, and then kind of academics kind of switched his thing and said, this and that. And then academics gave a pass to Drake for the Pusha T thing, saying, oh, he could have released this diss track that would have been scathing, but he didn't want to do it, so he bowed out. Like, no, he lost. There's no you could have, would have, should have. You lost, period. So there's no, like, you can tell in a lot of these media platforms, man, it's so biased. And I'm just saying, and all this to say, listen to the music and just judge it off that. Judge it off what you like, what you feel is a better track. There are some facts in the battle that are going to come out, obviously, and that's performance of songs, who charted better, who performed better, what impact, because you got to kind of think how we judged the Drake and Meek Mill battle was how did the world kind of react to it. If you remember in the Drake and Meek Mill battle, I remember this vividly on Twitter because I'm always on Twitter when it comes to battles. I've been on Twitter since 2009. So I've been 50 versus Rick Ross, all that shit. Till now, I've been on every single Twitter thing with a lot of people I follow that talk hip-hop. And I remember with the Drake and Meek Mill thing, right? Even media outlets were jumping into it, which they're doing now. I'm talking media corporations. Sorry, not just media outlets, but media corporations are jumping into this. You have TNT at halftime, them playing a Kendrick Lamar Not Like Us track or Euphoria. You have baseball. There's a baseball announcer saying, wow, he hit that out the park like Kendrick Lamar. Like, you have these other entities and comedians that Seth, I think Seth Rogen is his name. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. But Seth Rogen, I think, jumped into it, added his kind of flair of it, like, hey, Kendrick cooked Drake or whatever he said. We're getting the same thing with Kendrick towards Drake, how Drake did with Meek Mill. And I think that kind of shows that, hey, who's kind of winning this type of situation. It's not moving. For me personally, I'm not going to decide a winner until I feel it's completely finished, which I don't think it is yet. but I do have Kendrick slightly winning. I think the beautiful thing in this battle is that it's exactly what I expected. This is why I've been wanting this battle since forever. You know, people in my Nas and Jay-Z videos saying you predicted this battle. No, I've been wanting this battle because I know they've been subliminally dissing each other all these years. I should have made a video on it. Shout out to What's the Dirt. I mean, he got to it before me. But if I would have made a video on it, I would probably, had all the amazing views he's got on it. So shout out to him. He kind of nailed it ahead of time. But I'm going to do my kind of version down the line once all this stuff kind of a little settles down. But I think don't let, a lot of this stuff outside noise. Just judge the tracks for what they are. And I have Kendrick slightly winning. I don't think either artist smoked the other one. I think it's very, very close. And I think, one track could kind of just sway people's opinion on this thing. That's what I love about it. That's why I've been wanting the battle since forever. We're getting two of the best of their generation go at it. Like, that's such a rare thing that we need to appreciate it. And if you're a stan of either side, just appreciate the fact that you're getting music from both your whatever artist you're a fan of. You're getting music from them, and you're getting some of their best work in terms of pen game because they're energized to deliver the best that they can. Talking more about this battle, what I have as notes here. I basically went over everything. Gossipy talk, both artists delivering, breaking down what a diss track is, and the more thing about the diss track thing is you also got to think, right? Think of this diss track and these battles as like a real life rap battle. URL, these battle rappers that go in person and they rap bars at each other and whoever wins. That's how you got to view this thing as well. Now, if an artist has a diss track that has too many clever lines, it's going to go over people's heads, man. And you're going to miss the shot basically because people are going to be like, I don't know what he means by this. It means this, it means that. And I've been seeing a lot of that when it comes to Kendrick's side and Drake's side. Like, there's having too many layers in a diss track is not good either, because now you leave the room open for speculation, and that can cause a lot of different things. It can cause things to look bad on your end or look good on your end. But that's the whole theory of the stand stuff. Like Drake on Family Matters talks about the Mother I Sober track, the Kendrick Lamar getting molested, and he kind of leaves it open. And the fact that he says, that one record that you got molested in. And then people are trying to flip this narrative of Drake. One, they're saying, which I think this is the narrative, that Drake didn't understand the track and that Kendrick didn't actually get molested. But then there's stans that take this narrative like, oh, he flipped that bar into having making Kendrick look like he's confused and that Drake is an abuser, like whatever the hell the story of it is, which I'll break down when I actually go over the track better. But that's the thing. You can't leave room for speculation if you're dissing somebody and what this bar means. Because if you do that, I think you failed in your delivery of that. And that takes away points from that diss track. In my point of view, that's the way I view it. Like when we've had diss tracks previously, we don't have huge speculations. And here's the thing. You don't have to. That's what I mean by the gossipy thing. You don't have to have this gossip talk, man. Just make funny, clever lines. That's it. You know what's funny and clever that Drake did on push-ups? You stepping with a size 7 man's on. How you a big stepper with a size 7 man's on? That's hilarious. That's funny. Small feet trying to be a big stepper. You're tiny. You're a little 5'5" guy. That's funny. That's clever to me. It's simple. And then Kendrick says on Euphoria, I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. And that's become a whole popular thing on TikTok. Like everybody's using it as like a sound for their funny TikToks. And it's nothing. There's no layers to it. There's nothing insane about it. It's just funny. It's witty. It's clever. That's all we need in these diss tracks when you really think about it. You don't have to have these. I mean, it's good to have layers. I'm not saying, hey, just have the most simple bars ever and just be funny records. No. I mean, there is some layers of stuff, but I think this whole gossipy, you beat your wife, you're a pedophile, you're this, it's stupid. It takes away from everything. Just have the funny, witty bars. What did Kendrick say? I mean, Drake said on Family Matters. Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. It's so funny. I've been saying that in my head this forever. And then you got Kendrick on Not Like Us. OVO, OVHO, like all this shit is just hilarious. Like these type of one-liners, they're gonna last forever. It's gonna stick in people's minds, man. And I think if they focus more on that, we would have had probably better diss tracks on both ends. I think this bringing in kids and pedophile this and you abused your wife and this and that and you're Dave Freed impregnated your children, your wife or whatever. You're not this and you're I don't know, man. It's just That's the part I kind of don't like about this battle. That's probably my number one gripe about this battle. But that's my thoughts on it so far. I just thought, hey, let me kind of inform you guys of what I feel so far about it. I think, I still think it's going to be an amazing, but I think it's not over. I mean, that's just my take on it. I don't think it's over. If anything, Drake might fire more again. Kendrick might fire more again. I don't know, but I think Drake's kind of like not happy with the way things have ended. And who knows, man? Maybe there's some information that they got on each other that they're like, okay, I'm going to let this fire off, and whatever the case may be. All I know is I enjoy it, man. Shout out to them for giving us historical hip-hop moments, something that I'll never forget for as long as I'm alive, man. I'll never forget that night that I was chilling here in my office and Drake drops Family Matters after Kendrick drops 616 in LA in the morning. Drake drops Family Matters, and then 20 minutes later, Kendrick drops Meet the Grams. And then hearing both those tracks back to back, I was in shock. I was so much in shock. I went on my Instagram and recorded myself talking about it because I was just that. I never do that, by the way. I don't record myself on Instagram talking, but I did that on the Instagram stories because I was just that's how in shock I was. So shout out to them, man. I'm gonna break down the 616 in LA record at the end of this podcast, so that'll be done, and then the future tracks I'll break down as the next episodes come. All right, enough about the Drake and Kendrick talk for now. Let's get into the news. And Travis Scott's Astroworld lawsuits apparently have all been settled with one exception. Yes, crazy, right? Travis Scott's 2021 Astroworld Festival tragedy resulted in 10 wrongful death lawsuits against the rapper and a myriad of companies, but they've almost all been settled. According to reports published by ABC News on Wednesday, May 8th, just one case is currently pending, while all others, including one that was set to go to trial this week, have been confidentially settled. The final lawsuit was filed by a family of 9-year-old Ezra Blunt, the youngest person killed at the concert. Last month, a judge denied, the rapper's motion to be dismissed, which we talked about. So apparently, 10 people died, and out of those 10, 9 of them have been settled already. Confidentially settled. So, I don't know, maybe he paid them off and said, hey, we can go through this whole trial and I can potentially be not held liable. Or, you can get this $500,000 or $1 million and we can kind of settle this right here. I don't know, but that's kind of crazy. So the kid, though, the little 9-year-old kid that died, that's the only one that's been, the final lawsuit's been filed. And that has been settled. So maybe he's going to go all the way with it. I don't know. But that is crazy. Just like that, boom. 9 major death lawsuits are gone and settled. Money. That's what money does, baby. Money, money, money. So, yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted on this, man. Sad situation regardless, when those people lost their lives. Obviously, nothing that Travis Scott can do other than say sorry and just kind of pay his dues or whatever he has to do. So, we'll keep our eyes posted on that. Jim Jones. Ballin'. Shout out to Dipset. He, I don't know what the hell happened, man. He got into a scuffle at an airport. I don't know for what reason why, but let's go over it. Jim Jones seems to have rapidly moved on from an incident which saw him involved in a scuffle at a Florida airport over the weekend. On Saturday evening, May 4th, TMZ published a video that shows Dipset Capo fighting 2 men while on an escalator, reportedly at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. As the 3 men reached the bottom of the escalator, 2 officers from Broward County Sheriff's Office break up the scuffle as one pull a cooperative Jones away to a seating area. The rapper claims that he was defending himself, arguing it's 2 of them against me. Moments later, the Harlem rapper took to Instagram in a since-deleted post which captioned, "To all my family, I am good, love y'all, way too many calls," and text to reply, "God is good." He goes on to reassure his loved ones in a clip saying, "I'm all right." So let's first see the scuffle, and then let's see what Jim Jones has to say.
Bro.
At the escalator, arrivals. Lower level. Hey! Stop it!
You're jumping?
Knock it off! Knock it off!
My friend.
Knock it off!
It's 2 of them against me.
Knock it off!
You hurt my friend. You fucking hurt my partner. You hurt my friend. You okay?
Ow!
Let's go to the corner with.
Yo, sit down. Sit down. Hey, you're not questioning me.
He assaulted me. He assaulted me. They both assaulted me.
Go sit down.
They both assaulted me.
Your ass down. I don't fucking care. Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down now.
What the fuck did I just say?
They both
Sit your
assaulted
ass
me.
down.
You guys have gloves or first aid?
You're not listening.
I'm alright. I'm alright. Give me a second. I gotta get dressed for this party, man. I'll be right with y'all. Promise you. Promise you. I'm alright. And the show must go on. You heard? Tonight, Taboo, you know where I'm at. You dig? Fuck all that other shit. Pull up on me, you dig? I got it on, I hope you got it on. We gonna have a celebration, you heard? Life is life. Miami, Taboo. You know I still my summer's here. We on the way. Let's enjoy ourselves, you heard? Come in peace, you heard?
Well, now that we know he's all right, is he facing charges? And apparently he's not. He's avoided them. So let's go over that article. Jim Jones has managed to avoid criminal charges after getting in a fight. According to TMZ, the Dipset rapper is in the clear after police sided with his version of events that he was acting in self-defense during the scuffle. Per the police report, Jones claimed that the incident started when he was still on his flight and stood up to collect his luggage from the overhead compartment as the plane was landed. He claimed another passenger named James Dos Santos pushed him in his chest while confronting him for gathering his luggage before the plane had come to a complete stop. In turn, Jones said he grabbed Dos Santos' arm and warned him over his conduct, prompting the man to apologize. The Harlem native added that another passenger on the flight, Alexander, began screaming at him, which led to officers being called at the gate, but the rapper refused to take the incident any further. The report says that Jones continued to be harassed after they departed the aircraft and tensions boiled over on an escalator, which is where the brawl began. Both the guys then began throwing punches at Jim Jones, which was corroborated by airport surveillance footage. A 94-year-old man was also caught in a fray and was transported to the hospital due to leg injury. Damn, man, the 94-year-old man. That sucks for him. Jones has refused to press charges against his attackers. I saw Whack 100 saying some shit that Jim Jones is snitching. I'm like, this has nothing. This is like just a regular. I mean, I don't know, man. What is Jim Jones going to do in this moment? Oh, I'm not going to talk to you guys. I don't know what happened. Like, come on, man. It's a scuffle. He clearly wasn't in the wrong. And that's simple as that, man. There's no snitching in this thing. At least I don't see it. You know, hell, if it's snitching on another rapper or somebody that did some crime, like real crime, I'm not talking like slapping somebody at an airport and getting into a fight. That is a federal crime, by the way. I'm not saying it's not a real crime, but it's not that fucking serious when it comes to, like, you know, drug dealing or somebody does some murder and you snitch on them for that and you're a part of it and it's not that serious, the level. You know, this is stuff that there are 90,000 other witnesses there. Like, they're seeing the scuffle, they're seeing what happened. I'm sure police talked to witnesses, so they would have got information regardless if Jim Jones would have said anything or not. So, funny though, man. He, kind of got out of the situation. Nothing to his face. He looks perfectly fine doing his shows later that night, and he's not getting charged with anything. So shout out to Jim Jones, man. Did his thing. Continuing on, 50 Cent has decided to sue his baby mama. Yes, the one with his latest child, Sire. And I think this is just basically an attempt to get full custody of his kid because of the stuff that went on with Diddy. We talked about this like back when Diddy was the main topic and not Drake and Kendrick. So let's go over the article. 50 Cent is suing his ex-girlfriend and baby mother, Daphne Joy, for $1 million for accusing him of rape and physical abuse. According to TMZ, the June rapper filed a defamation suit on Monday, May 6th against Joy, with whom he shares an 11-year-old son named Sire Jackson. Documents filed on Monday, May 6th show the June rapper blasting his ex for an Instagram post she made on March 28th, suing her for defamation and court ordered to take down the post and refrain from other defamatory comments. The suit centers around an Instagram post the model uploaded in March where she accused 50 of sexually and physically assaulting her. In his complaint, 50 claims Joy's post was made in retaliation to her finding out that he was seeking sole custody of their son after she was accused of being one of Diddy's sex workers in producer Lil Rod's sexual assault lawsuit against the Bad Boy mogul. 50 says the allegations have severely damaged his business reputation and child custody case While opening him up to negative comments online, the rapper's lawyers reportedly sent a letter to Daffy Joy in early April demanding the removal of the post, but she refused. The request was apparently met with lawyers telling 50 to pay Joy millions of dollars and drop his custody suit, which he called clearly extortive. 50's legal team also released a statement dismissing allegations as false and malicious while claiming Joy as misguided loyalty to Diddy. Yeah, nasty, nasty things, man. We'll see where this goes, but if 50 actually did those things, obviously he's a piece of shit. There's no really ifs, ands, or buts about that. But there needs to be proof, just like this Kendrick and Drake thing. Drake is accusing Kendrick of beating his wife, but there hasn't been any proof. So, you can make accusations, you can claim things, but unless you have solid evidence, it doesn't really hold any weight, man. Everybody deserves, fair assumptions, let's just say, or fair, what's the proper word, but just fair trials and fair judgments of things. Without proof, you can't just sit out here and claim people are doing things that you have no proof that they actually did. That's just how the world works, man. Anybody with common sense works that way. Anybody without common sense or that has a bias or that has a grudge doesn't work that way. So it's really that simple. We'll keep our eyes posted on this and see what happens moving forward. The Game. What would a rap battle be without the Game inserting himself somehow into this? He's, of course, going to insert himself. This guy he has to be involved in some type of battle, man. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If he's not involved in it, it's not a real battle. That's just the reality of the situation. So the Game has decided to basically take shots at William Roberts, a.k.a. Rose, the biggest cop in the world. And I'm going to give you guys my opinion on this after, but let's go over the article. The Game has seemingly taken shots at Rick Ross for continually slandering Drake and his feud with Kendrick Lamar. This is what the Game has posted on his IG stories. He said this: "It's quiet today. Wingstop must be closed on Mondays." That's, it's a shout out, William Roberts for the Wingstops and those lemon pepper wings he always be eating. Then he posted this: "It be the fat guys with the skinny legs always running their mouth." Well, William hasn't responded to any of this, and I think he should. I would love this as a battle. And I had this hypothetical thing on my Twitter, which would never happen. It just in my dreams, if the world was in my hands and I could control everything, this is how it would go. I would love this. Would never happen in a million years. So don't even comment and say, Quake, you're delusional. I know this is straight up delusion. Let me be delusional for at least 2 minutes, right? I would love for 50 Cent in the Game to get together and just destroy William. Just release diss tracks back to back and just, come on, man. Cook him to the next level. Get him cooked like those Wingstop wings, bro. But that would never happen. Just 50 would, I think 50 dislikes William more than Jayceon Taylor, but I don't think he dislikes William that much to be cool with the Game. But I am all for the Game and William going into a battle. I think that would be entertaining. I think the Game would cook him. I think lyrically, Rick Ross is great lyrically. I'm not going to sit here and deny and be like, Ross can't rap and this and that. He has lyrically, he has ways of saying things, delivering some bars that he'll make up that make you be like, whoa, like he has that, right? His pen game is good. But the Game is like, you got to look at him as like one of the best diss track bars people ever. If you drop a song called 300 Bars and it's literally 300 bars of you just destroying a whole rap group, which, as much as I have my own biases in G-Unit and 50, I think Game did some type of damage to G-Unit as a brand and as a group with that diss track. So Game is well seasoned when it comes to battles. And I would love for the Game and Rick Ross to go at it. I think it would be very entertaining. I think both have very funny personalities on social media and just in interviews. I think it would be entertaining on both ends. Like, now would it get deadly? Hopefully not, but I think it would be entertaining, man, on both ends. I think they could deliver something really funny, man. Just comedy wise would be next level, and then bars wise, we get something really good from both ends, man. And, maybe Game can put that nail in the coffin for William. Drake's kind of sending shots at him, which I appreciate. You would think I would take Drake's side in this whole battle because he's kind of 50 is like kind of co-signing Drake more than Kendrick. Not saying that he's solely on Drake's side, but Drake got that G-Unit spinner chain, which is really cool, and then Drake's mentioned 50 and stuff like that. So you would think I would take Drake's side on a lot of this stuff, but nah, man. Right now, like I said, Kendrick has a slight lead. I think, but that's that's a whole different topic. But I think this would be the nail in the coffin for William if Game got involved and actually went at Rick Ross, and if he actually responded, it would be interesting. I would really enjoy it. I think this is a battle that I would really want, man. This is if all these battles happening. I hope this one does. I'd really enjoy it, man. Just from the fact of the music and the comedy aspects of it. Another battle that's happening, that's probably going to happen, is Gunna and Future. Yep, Gunna and Future. So what is going on? Future just randomly went on Twitter, right, out of nowhere, and announced that he's dropping a new mixtape this upcoming Friday. And he tweeted out saying, "Fuck your album, shit ain't slapping like my mixtape." And people were like, who is he talking about? Who is releasing on that same day of May 10th on Friday? Gunna. So then everybody started tagging Gunna. Gunna is releasing a new album, One of One, on May 10th. And then Gunna responded. Gunna said, "Yeah, turn this shit back up a notch. Fuck what they talking about. Fuck what these boys talking about." I don't know, man. I love Gunna and I love Future. I would love for them to get into battle. I would enjoy that as well, man. I'm all for 2024 rappers getting into battles as long as it doesn't get violent, which we'll talk about a little bit later, of the whole shooting incident of, we talked about the Weeknd's house, but now Drake's house got involved, some stuff. So I think it's fun. It's entertaining as long as nobody gets hurt, at the end of the day. I think it'll be interesting to see what Future has in store for this mixtape. Drake, what's funny? Drake on Family Matters really didn't take shots at Future. He was just kind of sounded like he was disappointed. Like, you got tricked into he basically said, me and Future never really fell out over anything. You just got tricked into joining Metro Boomin and all these other people into dissing me. And he's like, I forget whose name he mentioned, but that guy, he was like, that person's probably the one that infiltrated your mind into, going against me. But he kind of felt like, I'm more, it seemed like he was just more hurt about the Future thing than anybody else, really. Because Drake and Future made hits. So it's like, and I think their relationship was real from what they had a great friendship, man. I think throughout all these years, they've been friends since 2013, 2014. So 10 years of just making music together and stuff. I can understand why Drake would be hurt by it. But, yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if Future responds to Drake on the mixtape as well. Or if he takes shots at Gunna, or who knows, man. All I know is it's up and it's stuck. Everybody's dissing everybody. So I just wish, J. Cole would have got something going on. But he's out there peaceful. He got spotted at a beach by a random fan. Like, he's literally just has headphones on, walking the beach. Like, this guy gets spotted at the most random areas. Like, it's hilarious, man. But shout out to him for getting out of the battle and kind of just enjoying his peace. But yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted on this, man. It seems to be that potentially there's something there. It might be interesting. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to Golden Eagle for sponsoring this podcast. Yes, if it wasn't for Golden Eagle, this podcast wouldn't be possible. If you're looking for an energy drink that doesn't tear a hole in your pocket, Golden Eagle energy drink is the one you want to get. Golden Eagle has the smoothest taste with no aftertaste. You don't get acid reflux when you drink it, and you will save a lot of money. So check out Golden Eagle at drinkgoldeneagle.com/DMP. The link is in the description below. And how do you think this podcast would be possible without me having energy to do it? Come on, guys. You guys got to remember this. I need energy to do this stuff, man, because there's a lot of crazy topics. So look how smooth this thing sounds. Look at it. Oh, my God. It's fresh. Look at that Golden Eagle. Look at the can. It's so beautiful, too, man. Look at that. That's so fresh, man. So fresh. Golden Eagle energy drink. Go to the link description below. That's drinkgoldeneagle.com/DMP. Let's continue the episode. Seems like there's been a left turn when it comes to Drake's beefs with literally, it seems like, every everybody in the music industry. We're not just talking Kendrick Lamar here. We're talking The Weeknd. We're talking Rick Ross, Future, A$AP Rocky, Metro Boomin, bunch more. So there's something that's popped off, and it's not looking good. The timing of these incidents would insinuate that maybe something is going on relating to all these Drake battles and disses that he's got going on. And the reason why I say this is because a couple weeks ago, The Weeknd's manager, Cash XO's house ended up getting shot at, and the security guard got injured. The same thing has just now recently happened to Drake's Toronto mansion, where the house got shot up and the security guard ended up getting injured. So let's go over the Drake thing first, and then I'm going to talk about the Weeknd shooting, and then I'm going to talk about how these things are tied together. The Weeknd and Drake have been taking shots at each other when it comes to songs, and The Weeknd ended up dissing Drake quite a few times on the We Still Don't Trust You album with Future and Metro Boomin. The more specific diss I'm referring to is the track All to Myself off the album We Still Don't Trust You. The Weeknd said this, and these are shots aimed at Drake. He said, "I promise that I got your back. Oh, now look how we moving, baby. They could never diss my brothers, baby, when they got leaks in they operation. I thank God I never signed my life away, and we never do the big talk." Now, this is where he involved other people in Drake's camp that are actually street people, street guys that, you know, get involved into street stuff. He said this, "They're shooters making TikToks, got us laughing in the Lambo. I promise that I got your back." Who is he referring to when he said their shooters are making TikToks? Well, Baca, not nice. Baca is Drake's muscle. He's security. His not really official security, but he's the street guy for Drake in Toronto. He helps, you know, kind of maneuver things for Drake when it comes to anything involved in the streets and gets his back. Well, Baca is somebody who's very active on TikTok, and The Weeknd decided to clown him for that, saying like, this guy's supposed to be a street guy, a shooter, but he's out here making these funny looking TikToks. Well, when you diss somebody, you know, that, you know, already the battles, you know, when people diss each other, when main artists diss each other, it's pretty bad. You know, it starts to get really ugly. But when you involve other people that either don't rap or are just street people, then things start to escalate. And this is where I felt like, okay, this is not going to go well. It's not going to end up well. And that's exactly what's happening here. Then Drake, after that track came out, literally about a day or two later, dropped the Push-Ups track. And on this track, he addresses The Weeknd. And this is what he says. "Yeah, I'm the sixth god. I'm the front runner. Y'all guys' manager was Chubb's little blunt runner." Who is he talking about? The Weeknd's manager, Cash XO. He's saying, you know, my guy, Chubbs, my security guy, he's the little guy that just runs around, does stuff for him. He says, "Claim the six and you boys ain't even come from it." Now he's testing The Weeknd and saying, you know, you're not really from where I'm from. And then he says this, "And when you guys got rich, you had to run from it. Cash blowing Abel," which is Weeknd's bread, "out here tricking. Things we do for women, he doing for guys." He says, "Jet whips, chains, wicked, wicked, wicked. Spend it like you trying to F. Boy, you tripping. Boy, you tripping." So it's a little, you know, shots at mainly The Weeknd's manager. And, you know, he's saying basically your camp is full of a bunch of clowns because, you know, The Weeknd attacked Drake's camp with Baca. So now it's involving other people's camps. And this is where things can get ugly very quickly. Then after that track came out, literally about a week later, probably 7 to 8 days later, on April 29th, The Weeknd's manager, Cash XO's house in Los Angeles ends up getting shot up. So let's go over the article. On early Monday morning, April 29th, a security guard was shot in Encino, Cali, a home linked to the music executive and The Weeknd's co-manager, Amir Cash Emilion. LAPD sent Billboard a statement regarding the 2:30 a.m. incident. The victim was inside a guard shack when he heard several gunshots and discovered he had been struck. The suspects, 3 male, fled from the location. LAFD responded and transported the victim to a local hospital in unknown condition. A resident spoke to KTLA and explained that the affluent neighborhood is a quiet and rarely experiences violent incidents like this. "I'm sure whatever happened here was captured on security camera," she said. "Unfortunately, that can bring danger with it too." Police told KTLA that Ismailian was inside at the home at the time of the incident, but it's unclear whether the suspects ever entered the residence. A separate report from KTTV notes that the wounded guard placed the call to police and identified the suspects as 3 men in hoodies and masks. Though the unarmed guard was in a critical condition at the hospital, he will make a full recovery. Sources tell Billboard that this was an attempted home invasion. So when this happened, you know what? People said, hey, and I said this too, hey, it could be just a coincidence, right? In LA, there's a lot of robbery type incidents and a lot of really rich neighborhoods. That's just LA is known for that. I mean, there's been so many celebrities that have been, have home invasions happen to their house just because I guess that's just the nature in LA over there. But, the timing of it just is very, very weird. And now we have a Drake incident at Drake's Toronto home. A shooting's happened with the same thing with a security guard getting hurt. Now, before this shooting incident happened, Drake released a response diss track called Family Matters. And in the second verse, he says this: if Drake's shooters doing TikToks, realest shooter in your gang, that's P's brother, yelling, getting shit shot. Can't listen to stick talk and falsetto, save it for hip hop. You don't even be at home, dog. You a souvenir out the gift shop. So Drake is responding to the TikTok shooters thing even more directly now and saying, if my shooter's doing TikToks, what are your street guys doing? They're not going to get anything shot, because when he mentioned P's brother, he's talking about Preem. His brother Gilla is close with the Weeknd. So he's saying, listen, they're brothers with each other, the literal brothers. So he's not going to, your hardest guy in your crew isn't going to retaliate at my people because they're brothers. They're close to each other. So you got this hard guy who's really affiliated with me, because he's related to him. So that's his take on it, and says, listen, you guys ain't going to do nothing, man. And, well, it looks like they called him out on that bluff. And I'm not saying that, hey, the Weeknd has something to do with the shooting and that, the Weeknd's going to be tied to this in any way. I mean, who knows? It could be something related to Kendrick Lamar. It could just be something random happen at that moment, which I highly doubt, because Drake's lived at the location. And everybody knows he's lived at the location basically since the house has been built, which was, I think, 2018 or something like that. So, the fact that it's happening now with all this beef stemming, something has to be related to it. Let's go over the article, what happened. The Toronto AP report, police are investigating a shooter outside rapper Drake's mansion in Toronto that left a security guard seriously wounded. Authorities did not confirm whether Drake was at the home at the time of the shooting, but said his team is cooperating. The shooting happened around 2 a.m. Tuesday in an affluent Bridle Path neighborhood of Toronto. So same time that Cash XO's house got shut up at 2:30 at night. Same thing with Drake's at 2 at night. Toronto Police Inspector Paul said video of the shooting had been recovered and the guard who was wounded remains hospitalized. In recent weeks, Drake has been engaged in a rap feud with Kendrick Lamar, with each artist dropping diss tracks against each other. Paul was asked whether the feud was a factor in the shooting, and he said while investigators are aware of it, it is too early to discuss motive.
This morning at about 2 a.m., police were called to a shooting at the residence behind me here. When officers arrived, they located a male who was suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. That male was taken to hospital in serious condition. That person was working, apparently, as a security guard at the residence. He was standing outside of the gates in front of the residence when the shooting occurred. We have individuals who obviously performed the shooting who were seen in a vehicle. I do not have a description of the vehicle or the suspects at this time. Again, it's very early on in the investigation. I cannot speak to a motive at this time because it's so early, but as we get information, we will share it with you.
All of the police don't think, it has anything to do with Kendrick Lamar. I do think it has something to do with the Weeknd. That's just my theory in it. There's no proof of it yet. This is all allegedly. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but once you start bringing in, street guys and they, start claiming that they're not really shooters, they're making TikToks, well, that tests some of these people. And, Drake's out here saying, you know what, you guys aren't going to get shit shot. Well, after that track came out, literally 4 or 5 days later, boom, something happens at your house where you got yellow tape out there. Now the question is, what are the police going to find when it comes to the Weeknd's manager's house getting shot up in LA and Drake's house getting shot up? Is there a connection there? Are they going to find information about these people that, hey, they have ties? Because it's going to look very, very crazy if, these guys hired people to start getting people shot up. It's going to be very bad. And this is where we didn't want it to go, right? We want a lot of these rap battles just to be rap battles and just people to make good diss tracks and then everybody to get along after. 90% of the time, that's not reality. Now, sometimes that does happen. You make diss tracks, laugh it off, move on from the situation. But when it starts to get ugly, family members start to get mentioned, kids start to get mentioned, other people, street people that don't want to be involved in this stuff unless they have to be, start to get mentioned and get clowned on for making TikToks. And, your shooters is related to my friend, so he's not really a shooter, he's soft. It's going to get really bad like this. I think because of that TikTok line that the Weeknd put out there, initially got the shooting to happen to Weeknd's manager's house. And then when Drake said yelling getting shit shot on his Family Matters track, well, then that happened at his house. So it's going to be interesting to see if Drake actually, makes a song about this or talks about it, because there's supposed to be a track that was allegedly supposed to come out today, but because of the shooting at Drake's house, Drake or Kendrick postponed it. Prayers out to the security guards, man. Both of them, even at the Weeknd's house, Weeknd's manager's house, and Drake's house, both got hit and both were in critical condition. So, they got lives, they got a family to feed. So it's unfortunate. I know it's their job to protect, but hey, man, we don't want to see people getting killed and hurt over just diss tracks. So we'll keep you guys posted and see if anything updates as time goes on. Before we get into the breakdown of the 616 in LA track, let's talk about the crazy records that Kendrick Lamar is breaking because of these diss tracks. And it's next level stuff. He's breaking Drake's records. So the first thing is chart data reported that Kendrick Lamar is Not Like Us, which, by the way, hasn't had a full week on the streaming platforms. I think it missed a day. I think it dropped. When did Not Like Us drop? I think it dropped on, might have been Saturday or something like that. I don't remember. Let me see. I'm actually look at the dates on this just to 100% be clear, because usually tracks drop, Friday, and then they got the whole Friday till next Friday to kind of get up their numbers, and then they eventually go on the charts. But Not Like Us dropped. Yeah, it dropped on a Saturday, which means it missed, Friday as a streaming day. And it dropped midday Saturday, so it missed like a day and a half of full streaming. But despite that, chart data has reported, and this is insane, Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us breaks the all-time record for biggest single-day streams of a hip-hop song in United States, by the way, not globally, U.S. Spotify history, passing Drake and Lil Baby's Girl Want Girls. So he broke Drake's record with that diss track. And then chart data reported that Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us rose to number 1 on the global Spotify chart with a new daily high of 10.9 million streams, up 41%, which made it the biggest streaming day for a hip-hop song in 2024. Mind you, this was halfway through the day. This wasn't a full day. This dropped mid-Saturday. On top of that, it dropping mid-Saturday caused this to happen as well. There's another record. Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us breaks its own all-time record for biggest single-day streams of a hip-hop song in U.S. Spotify history with a new high of 6.8 million streams. So not only did Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us break Drake's record with the Girls Want Girls record, but then Kendrick the next day broke his own record that he just broke. Like, that's insane. Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us remains at number 1 global Spotify chart with new daily high of 11.85 million streams. This is the biggest streaming day in hip-hop in 2024 and the second biggest hip-hop peak of all time when it comes to global Spotify charts. And then, that's not it. Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us breaks all-time record for biggest single-day streams for a solo hip-hop song in global, so this is not just America, around the world. Spotify history, passing Drake's Champagne Poetry, which is 11.85 million. So Kendrick Lamar dissing Drake beat Drake out in his own spot. Now, what are people going to say? Oh, that's the Drake effect. If it wasn't for Kendrick mentioning Drake, he would have never done this. Here's my refute to that. Here's my 2 things refuting that. 1, Kendrick Lamar was already a superstar before Drake. I mean, we have Humble went number 1. That's his solo record. That was him by himself. Never mentioned Drake. He got a number 1 record with that. He got a number 1 record with Taylor Swift, Bad Blood. He got a number 1 record with the Like That track. I think Like That would have still been a hit regardless of Kendrick mentioning Drake or not. That's just a hit record. I mean, you can tell. Anybody who can't see that or is just being biased and delusional. Like That was a hit record regardless of it mentioning, Drake. So he's already had that superstar thing. That's what I'm saying. Drake met his match when it comes to somebody who's lyrically up there with Drake, potentially better, and then somebody who has a star power of Drake. I think, Drake has a bigger star power, obviously because he's more consistent, but Kendrick has matched his star power quite a few times. With Damn, just the success of Damn showed that he matched his star power. So when people say, oh, it's the Drake effect, it's because you mentioned Drake. What about other artists? What about Meek Mill when he mentioned Drake? What about Pusha T? What about other artists what about Rick Ross's Champagne Poetry? So it's not about mentioning Drake. It's just about, is the record fire? That's the number one thing. And who is it? Do we know this guy? Does he have star power? I do believe if Pusha T added the story of added down to streaming platforms, I don't think he would have had a number one record. By the way, this is scheduled for Kendrick Lamar to debut at number one. And that'll be the first time Kendrick Lamar has ever debuted at number one. Let's not get it twisted. This is not Kendrick's first number one. It'll be his first debut, meaning like the first time it hits the charts, it's automatically number one. And the crazy thing is Euphoria is fighting it. Literally, Kendrick Lamar is battling himself for the number one spot. Euphoria is potentially going to be number one. So it's between Not Like Us or Euphoria. And next week, potentially, Kendrick's going to be either number one or number two. Both the spots. He's going to have number one and number two, and they're both going to be diss tracks to Drake. So that's the crazy thing in this. I think, it's not the Drake effect. That's the thing. Kendrick already has himself established. And on top of that, if that was the Drake effect, other artists would have had number one hits like this, dissing Drake. Of course, it helps. All this beef, all this stuff happening, it helps. I think Not Like Us is a hit record regardless. I mean, when we heard it, it just has a lot of catchy things. The beat is catchy. People are playing in clubs, enjoying it. I don't know about the battle itself, if Kendrick would have delivered a record like that, but that's the smart thing in this thing, man. In this Kendrick thing is that he pulled the Drake on Drake. This is what Drake was supposed to basically do, is deliver a hit that's a diss record, which he did with Meek Mill. He delivered that back-to-back. Everybody was bumping that, loving it. But Kendrick pulled the Drake on Drake and flipped it on him and decided to deliver that hit that's a diss record, and it's working. And I don't know, man. I think it's just a huge salute to Kendrick. There's another thing that came out when it comes to Kendrick. Billboard reported that Kendrick's back catalog, which means his old music, is up 49% following the weekend of the beef. And guess this, Drake's back catalog is down 5%, meaning less people are bumping Drake after all this. So Kendrick's up 49%, Drake's down 5%. Is this a gauge on what to expect in the future? Meaning, are people over Drake? Is Drake ever going to be able to reach, being Drake again, meaning hit records and stuff? I think he's not affected by it, unless obviously some evidence comes out of the pedophile stuff. Obviously, for me, it's over. I'm never listening to that guy's music. I'm deleting all of his. I can't, man. At that point, that's the worst thing you can be as a human being to me, in my eyes. I can't rock with it. But despite that, let's just say no evidence, no solid evidence is out there. Will people, I don't think Drake will really struggle. Will people shift? Here's the thing about this Kendrick and Drake thing as well. I don't think it's really moved people that much. Like, I don't think it moved a Drake stan into a Kendrick fan and then a Kendrick fan into a Drake stan or whatever. Like, I think people are just kind of stuck in their ways, and there's some people that are in between that don't really care. Like me, I'm a fan of both. I can enjoy both. I can enjoy all the diss tracks. I don't really care. But I don't think it's moved people really that much. And I could be wrong. This is a early indicator that potentially it did move people. Maybe people just ain't rocking with Drake anymore. Maybe they feel like he really is a pedophile. I don't know. Yeah, man, crazy. But is this an early indicator of people just not fucking with Drake anymore? I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. But I think I think Drake will still be fine as long as none of that, those accusations are actually proven true. I think he'll be fine, man. All of Drake, if anything, it'll put a battery in Drake's back to potentially deliver a great album. Because in my eyes, he hasn't really delivered a great album. He's delivered good albums, meaning 6 and 7s. Out of 10s. But great is like 8, 9. Like that. To me, he hasn't done that in a minute. So maybe he'll inspire him. Maybe he'll put a batteries back to deliver a great album. And then all he's got to do is give us one of those melody hits that he has. And he's back to number one. And, kind of people, are still going to praise him. But to me, I don't think it's really moved people that much. At least that's the way I view it. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody in the comments right now will comment and be like, I used to be a Drake fan, now I'm a Kendrick fan. I used to be a Kendrick fan, now I'm a Drake fan. I don't know. But to me, I don't think it's really moved people. I think people are set in their ways, and it just is what it is. But this might be an early indicator that I could be wrong, that it is probably moving people. So we'll see. We'll keep our eyes posted. But shout out to Kendrick for breaking all those records. That is insane, man. If there's any indicator of, who's winning, it's usually these type of things. As much as, I don't really like to go after numbers when I'm talking about rap battles, but hey, if people are bumping your shit more, the numbers prove it, then it just is what it is. People are rocking with it more. So, yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted on that. So, I'm going to go over first, obviously, the track after Euphoria, which is 616 in LA. For this 616 in LA track, I actually ended up predicting that Kendrick Lamar would drop a back-to-back diss track towards Drake, and I predicted right. I dropped the Euphoria bar breakdown video the night before Kendrick Lamar dropped this 616 in LA track, and I predicted that in his line where he says, back-to-back, yeah, I like that record. I'm going to get back to that for the record on Euphoria, that he would drop a back-to-back type of scenario that Drake did to Meek Mill way back in 2015 when Drake dropped Charged Up and then dropped the back-to-back track. All Kendrick Lamar did with this track is match Drake's energy because Drake dropped the Push-Ups diss track and then on Instagram exclusively dropped that tailor-made freestyle, the track with the AI, Snoop Dogg, and Tupac. So Kendrick Lamar did the same thing. He released this 616 in LA track exclusively on Instagram. So let's go over the track. First, I'm going to start out with the title. I'm not going to go over the artwork, though, because the artwork is just a cropped version of the full artwork on the track Meet the Grams. So I'm going to go over the artwork on Meet the Grams when I break that down. So for the title, it's 616 in LA, and on the surface level, it's fairly simple. It matches Drake's theme that he has in his career, where he has timestamps and locations on his tracks. These are normally Drake's most lyrical rap songs that he has in his catalog, and they feature all these type of timestamps in different locations, like 5 a.m. in Toronto, 9 a.m. in Dallas. These timestamp location records, that's all Kendrick is doing, is matching what Drake does with those. And actually throughout the track, you'll notice he starts to match Drake's flow a little bit as well. Now that's only on the surface level. Of course, we know Kendrick is more than just a surface level artist. There are layers to this title. Now for the deeper layers in the 616 in LA title, and this I think is the number one thing that Kendrick was trying to get with this title, or the message that he was trying to get across. And the message that I think he was trying to get across is on June 16th, 2011, Kendrick Lamar, for the first time ever, performed in Canada, specifically in Toronto. He performed at the Sound Academy in Toronto, and in that show, he was introducing himself to everybody in Toronto and everybody in Canada.
Like this, tonight was for everybody in here to understand me. I need y'all to recognize that my plan B is to win your hearts before I win a Grammy. My name is Kendrick Lamar.
So I think what he's trying to say in this is, hey, I'm here. Canada, I'm here. If you guys want to go squabble, we can squabble, or we can show love, whatever the case may be. I'm here. But also throughout the track, he also insinuates, like when we break down the bars, that, hey, he's got ties in Canada and Toronto. More specifically, ties in Drake's OVO camp. So it could insinuate all those things, but I think that's the number one thing that he's trying to get across with that title, besides the surface layer of matching Drake's timestamp songs. But it also can be linked to other things, and this is what I think the title can be linked to as well. On 6/16 is Tupac's birthday. On 6/16, it's Father's Day. On 6/16, it's the release of Drake's TV show Euphoria. And it plays on, obviously, Kendrick's first diss track, Euphoria. Anything else, I think it doesn't really connect with, because I think people were trying to get, with the glove and the artwork, people are trying to tie it to O.J. Simpson and all this stuff. But come to find out in the full picture, it didn't really tie into all that stuff, at least in my point of view. So that's it for the title. I think those are the multiple layers in it that actually make sense. Now let's get into the sample on the track, which is very interesting. The song samples Al Green's October 1972 track, What a Wonderful Thing Love Is. And the crazy tie in this is that Drake's dad's uncle, Teenie Hodges, was a guitarist and songwriter for Al Green. He played the guitar on Al Green's What a Wonderful Thing Love Is. And of course, Kendrick sampled that. Now it gets deeper than that, and we're going to go back to that back-to-back line that Kendrick had on Euphoria. Kendrick's Euphoria sampled Teddy Pendergrass. And of course, on the 616 in LA, he sampled Al Green. Al Green and Teddy Pendergrass made an album called Back to Back Hits. That is the craziest thing ever, man. Just that connection there is insane. Kendrick Lamar, the beautiful thing about a lot of these diss tracks is he's tying each diss track that he comes out with with each other, which is just beautiful. And then let's get into the producer. One of the co-producers of the track is Jack Antonoff. He is a pop producer known very well for working with Taylor Swift. So what did Kendrick Lamar do? He used this track in response to Drake's tailor-made freestyle. And what did Drake say in the tailor-made freestyle? That you're ducking, releasing music because Taylor Swift dictates you on how to release songs and stuff like that. Well, Kendrick said, I'm going to match you with that whole Taylor Swift thing, and I'm going to get one of Taylor Swift's producers to come co-produce the song responding to that track. Now let's finally start by breaking down the bars, and in the intro, Kendrick says, yeah, it's survival, I think somebody lying, smell somebody lying, I don't see no fire. Pretty simple, man. There's nothing really much layers into this. He's basically saying, listen, you throw a bunch of smoke out there, smoke screens, whatever, to try to confuse people. But through the smoke, there isn't any fire, meaning there's no solid anything evidence of what you're saying, when you dissed me. So that's basically the start of it. Now, when the verse starts out, Kendrick Lamar is rapping on the surface layer, this stunting, extravagant lifestyle, yachts and traveling and passports getting stamped and all this stuff. So let's go over it. He says, off-white Sunseeker at the Marina, fuck a phantom, I'll buy yachts when I get the fever. Wine cooler spill on my white t-shirt, the sightseer. Trifecta, money, morals, and culture, that's my leisure. My visa, passport tatted, I show up in Ibiza. Luquelli's Dellin in Brooklyn just to book me some pizza. Who could reach us? Only God could teleport this type of freedom. So throughout this, just stunt, saying, hey, I get yachts. If I get the temptation to buy yachts, I can do that. My passport is tatted, meaning, hey, it gets stamped all over when you travel. If you have a passport and you travel, it does get stamped, and eventually you run out of pages, so you got to get a new passport. He's saying, listen, I'm out here, I'm doing everything. Now let's talk about the deeper layers in this. And I think in the first line, saying off-white Sunseeker at the Marina, off-white is a brand, a luxury brand that Virgil created. Virgil passed away, and Virgil was really close with Drake. He even got him a custom-made watch that he rapped about on Life is Good. So he could be referring to that brand as well as tying it into Drake not officially being, black. He's mixed. He's off-white. Then he says Sunseeker at the Marina. The Sunseeker thing could just be a play on Drake being mixed and that he wants to be a lot darker and part of the culture. But also it can mean two other things. When you're a Sunseeker, you're trying to look for the light. You're trying to be in part of the spotlight and always look for fame and clout and glory. And, in Euphoria, Kendrick constantly attacked Drake for that, saying that, you're about this glamorous lifestyle and that I don't care about that. You just want the glory and the fame and to have all this clout. Another thing is Sunseeker is one of the most leading luxury yacht brands. So at the surface level as well, it could just be, hey, I have an off-white colored Sunseeker at the Marina. I'm chilling in this yacht. Now the next line, he says, fuck a phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever. This reminded me of the video in 2019 with Drake and J. Cole in a Rolls Royce Phantom, where they finally linked up together. It had been years since they actually linked up together and chilled. And this could have rubbed Kendrick Lamar the wrong way. I think this is when kind of Kendrick kept his distance from J. Cole as well, because he saw Drake and J. Cole were getting a lot closer, and then eventually they started making music together. And then, of course, the first-person shooter thing that led to all, this beef happening.
Hey,
Yo,
you know what I mean?
who would have thunk it, man?
Yeah, big money.
In the ghosty, man.
Terrible.
No Casper, man.
No Casper.
And then when he says, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever, there's a yacht brand that is really well known called Defever, D-E Fever, F-E-V-E-R. And he could be just having a wordplay on that, saying, I like to buy yachts whenever I want to buy, I get Defever buying the Fever yacht. Now, these next lines are interesting. He says, wine cooler spill on my white t-shirt, the sightseer. When wine spills on a white t-shirt, it's horrible because most of the time wine's red, it's going to pop, it's going to show. However, when he says sightseer, this is interesting because a sightseer is a line of paper shooting range targets made by Thompson Target. They usually come in red, circular targets, close resemble of a wine stain. It looks like a wine stain on a white t-shirt, but this is a target. And what could he be saying is like, hey, I got a target on Drake's back, and then there's a target on me as well. Now, the sightseer part at the end, the definition of seer on Webster is very interesting. It says, one that sees, one that predicts events or developments, a person credited with extraordinary moral and spiritual insight. And then the third synonym is one that practices divination, especially by concentrating on a glass or crystal globe. And this is interesting because Kendrick here is predicting what's going to happen. There's going to be blood spill. There's going to be blood shed at a certain point in this battle, and it's not going to be him. And this is also, I think, a play on Kendrick just clowning Drake, being that he's an outsider, that when he goes to these places, these locations that he takes culture from, that he takes sounds from, he's really just a sightseer. He's a visitor. He's not really from there. Continuing on, he says, trifecta, money, morals, and culture, that's my leisure. And that's what I mean. He doubles down on the fact that Drake doesn't have morals, culture, money like that, and I strive in that. That's my leisure. I love doing that. And of course, in Euphoria, he said he doesn't have, morals, culture. He's not part of any type of culture in America. He doesn't really have proper morals in dealing with women. He doesn't take care of his kid properly, stuff like that. Then he continues and says, my visa, passport tatted, I show up in Ibiza. And in this, I don't really look too deep into it. This is pretty a simple bar. I think the passport tatted thing, if anything, is just Kendrick kind of playing on the fact that he's big worldwide as well. I know on push-ups, Drake said, I'm bigger in Japan and stuff like that. Kendrick might just be saying, listen, I've traveled the world. I've been out there. I'm a big artist as well, globally. Now, this next line is another shout out towards a restaurant. He did this in Euphoria with New Ho King and got them insane business. Well, he's doing the same thing here. He says, Lucali's dwellings in Brooklyn, just book me a pizza. And this could be just as simply as well as a direct response to Drake clowning Kendrick for being in New York and staying in his apartment, which he had in the Tailor-Made freestyle. We got to remember, in this track, he's basically responding to the most part to the second track that Drake released, dissing him with the Tailor-Made freestyle. And the next line he says, who could reach us? Only God could teleport this type of freedom. And I think here he's just simply saying that I'm not out there as much, man. When I travel, people don't really know where I'm at. I have a lot more privacy than Drake does. Drake, announces everything that he does. And I'm over here. I can go everywhere. Only God would know where I'm at. And I travel the whole world. And, I'm not this local artist that, Drake paints out all the competition to be. In these next few bars, he says, God, my confession is yours, but who am I if I don't go to war? There's opportunity when living with loss. I discover myself when I fall short. This is something that Kendrick Lamar has always kind of struggled with. He's always kind of gone with, hey, do I go with my morals or do I go with what I'm feeling at this time? And if you guys remember on Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers on the track Father Time, he says, when Kanye got back with Drake, I was slightly confused. Guess I'm not mature as I think, got some healing to do. Kendrick recently has been a lot into therapy and kind of reevaluating how he sees things. And then these lines, that's what he's doing. He's kind of like, hey, he's asking God, should I stick with my morals and take the high road and not entertain this beef that's going on? Or should I battle this guy, and even if I lose, I can discover things within myself and find great opportunity in that? But what this line does is it sets up perfectly what Kendrick is about to do to Drake. It starts out with him kind of, battling himself, saying, should I go this far? Should I go this deep? Because what he reveals later down the line in the lines is that, hey, Drake has a mole in his camp. Drake, the people that are surrounding you don't like you. They want to see the downfall in you. And that's going to cause confusion in Drake in himself, because he's going to be like, who are these people that are surrounding me? If they're actually, wanting to wish down upon me and are willing to give out information about me that is private. And this is what makes Kendrick Lamar's lines in a lot of these songs beautiful, because of the way he sets things up. Then in these next lines, he says, raise my hands to a fallen sky, I fantasize. Me jumping planets, immortalize, I correspond. When people raise their hands up in the sky, for the most part, they're praising God. He's saying, I'm going to raise my hands up to the sky, praise God while the sky is falling. Usually what represents when a sky is falling is that everything is going to crumble, everything is going to be destroyed. And Kendrick here is saying, when I praise God and everything else is crumbling around Drake's career, I'm going to fantasize about it. It's going to be one of the greatest things that's going to happen. It reminds me of that Elmo meme. If you guys have seen, where Elmo has his hands up and there's a bunch of fire going around him. That's basically what Kendrick is fantasizing, that I'm going to create this insane chaos and it's going to ruin Drake's career. I'm going to set him up for all this crazy stuff, and I'm going to love it. Then when he says, me jumping planets, immortalize, I correspond, I view this as Kendrick saying, once I destroy this guy of what he is, I'm going to be immortalized. I'm going to have these superpowers. People are going to view me in a different light. It's going to elevate me to a whole different career in life. It continues, it says, 3 angels watching me all the time, put my children to sleep with a prayer, then close my eyes, definition of peace. The three angels thing is just referring to religion. In most religions, they believe that three angels are always watching over you. And then he says, put my children to sleep with a prayer, then close my eyes. Definition of peace. Hey, my life doesn't really have much going on in it, man. I love where I'm at in life. I'm a father. I don't have to deal with a bunch of celebrity crazy things in and out, and I've healed. And this could also be a jab at Drake saying, you don't have this. You don't have a stable life like I do with my family. Continuing on, he says, tell me who gonna stop me. I come from love. Estelle cover my heart, then open me up. When he says Estelle covers my heart, he's referring to Estelle Oliver, who is a lost family member, possibly Kendrick Lamar's grandmother. He previously mentioned her, as well as other lost ones in United in Grief from the 2022 album, Mr. Morale and Big Steppers. He said this, I was 9 when they put Lamont in the grave, heartbroken when Estelle didn't say goodbye. Chad left his body after we FaceTimed. And I think in these lines, he's talking about why he's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to explain, hey, this comes from love. This comes from all these people, all this trauma that I had to deal with. And now you're going to get both of those things. You're going to get the trauma that I have to deal with and the love that I got. And then he goes back more in these next lines to his history of why he got into music. He says, remember when picked up a pen, lyrics that I can trust. Timid soul, stare in the mirror asking where I was from. In these lines, when he first became an artist, he realized he had this ability to write that other people didn't have. And then he's kind of wondering, hey, where did this come from? Who am I? Discovering yourself as you grow up. And as you become an artist, once you get older and older, you start to really realize what your art form is, and you get more comfortable in your art form. And he says in the next lines, often I know this type of power is going to cost, but I live in circadian rhythms of a shooting star. Now, in the first line, when he says, I know this type of power is going to cost, he's saying, listen, with this type of talent at this level, I'm going to have to sacrifice certain things in my life, whether it's privacy. Now that I'm this superstar, I can't just go out with my family and enjoy dinner without people coming up to me, without paparazzi taking photos. And he realizes that at a certain level, you're going to have to sacrifice certain things when it comes to fame and success at this point. And also, he could be referring to, hey, when he said, fuck the big three, it's just big me saying, hey, I'm the one wearing the crown, and it's going to be very heavy. It's going to be a lot to bear on my shoulders. This next line where he says, but I live in circadian rhythms of a shooting star. Circadian rhythm is the human body's inherent 24-hour sleeping cycle that dictates when and how long a person sleeps. Shooting star, comets, and meteor showers follow similarly predictable annual patterns. So he's saying out of all those things, those comets, those things, I'm a shooting star. Basically saying, hey, I'm this big superstar of a person. And of course, he would follow the path of a shooting star because, earlier on he said, I have this insane power and I have this level that I didn't know about how gifted I am when it comes to writing. I figured it out at a young age, and I always knew at the end of the day I would be a shooting star. And this next line, he says, the mannerisms of Raphael, I can heal and give you art. And then he follows it saying, but the industry's cooked as I pick the carcass apart. Now, Raphael is an archangel associated with Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and is traditionally associated with healing. With this healing, there's a story from the book of Tibet, which depicted in a painting by Titan details of this archangel Raphael guiding a young boy, Tobias, who he teaches to be a man before healing his father's blindness. Now, this is just insane layers. He's basically saying that, hey, earlier on he talked about how, this is coming from love, right? And with that love, he's saying, Drake, I can teach you these things. I can teach you from being a boy to a man, which he refers to in Euphoria, that come my way. I'm the guider. I'm the leader in this thing. I can teach you to be part of your culture, teach you how to make music that resembles your culture and not taken from different things. But of course, he follows it up by saying this industry's cooked, that even if I try to teach Drake or I try to be the leader in this industry, there's still going to be people that take from this industry, take from this culture that aren't really part of it and are going to destroy it. And then even with saying the industry's cooked, he says, I picked the carcass apart, meaning I already killed this thing. I'm going to start picking up these little pieces and dissecting it even further. In these next lines, he goes at academics. He says, yeah, somebody's lying. I can see the vibes on Ak. Even he looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back. This is where he starts to deep dive. And I touched on this on the Euphoria breakdown. There were some lines that he mentioned on that track where, it seemed like he was going at academics, and now he's doubling down, saying, even academics is going to see that I'm going to destroy his favorite artist. And if you guys remember on Academics' stream where he says, what top 5 you smoking on Kendrick, on Drake's push-ups, Drake sampled that. But on that same stream, academics ended up falling asleep. So he's saying somebody's lying. If you really like Drake's music like that, you wouldn't have fallen asleep on stream like that. That's just, now you're lying to your audience. And then he's saying, I'm going to expose, he's looking compromised. Let's peel more of these layers back because Euphoria is not all that I got, man. And if you think that's impressive, wait until I break something more down. In his next line, he defends his manager. Ain't no brownie points for beating your chest, harassing Ant. Now, if you remember, before Drake released the Taylor-Made Freestyle, he decided to go at Kendrick Lamar's manager, Ant. He posted a picture of Ant shopping at OVO and clowned him. And then he follows it up saying, I'm going to get Ant's back by saying, fucking with good people, make good people go to bat. Now, in these next lines, he breaks down the conspiracies of Drake, what he thinks is the leak. He says, conspiracies about Cash Dog, that's not even a leak. Find the jewels like Cash Doll. I just need you to think. Now, Cash is Cash XO, which is the Weeknd's manager. And the Weeknd, on the track All to Myself, said they could never diss my brothers, baby. When they got leaks in the operation, I thank God I never signed my life away. Kendrick is saying, listen, Drake, it's not Cash. This is not the guy that's leaking this information to us. It's somebody closer to you. And you can find out who if you just pay attention to the jewels like Cash Doll. What's hilarious here is that Cash Doll did an interview with Vlad where she talks about she had $500,000 worth of jewelry stolen and that she, never found the jewelry. Somebody took it. And Kendrick is having a wordplay here saying, find the jewels like Cash Dog, like how she's looking for her jewelry. It just needs you to think. Think about who's your mole in this camp. And then these next lines, Kendrick Lamar doubles down from Euphoria. He says, are you finally ready to play Have You Ever? Let's see. Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me? Fake bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it. And this is just diabolical, man. One of the worst things you could do to somebody in a battle is have them question whether their own team is against them or not. And Pusha T did a little bit of this as well. And then Kendrick in the line says, fake bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person, saying these people turning on you must mean that you're just a terrible person to them as well. And that's why they're turning on you, because they don't like you. They want to see your downfall. And he follows it up saying, can't Tootsie slide up out of this one, is just going to resurface. Here, Kendrick is saying, listen, I don't give a fuck about your hit records. You can't make hit records out of this situation. It's going to constantly be brought back up in your career. The same way that Pusha T's story of Adidon, that forever had a chink in Drake's armor. Even Drake admitted that he lost that battle, and that's forever going to be a stain on his career. That, hey, he lost that battle. And Kendrick is saying, I'm going to be the same thing, but I'm going to be a worse stain. Then he follows it up saying, every dog got to have its day. Now live in your purpose. Drake for all the dogs. He's saying, listen, you gotta have your day, man. Scarface references this in the movie Scarface. Every dog has its day where, hey, there's going to be a moment where it's over. Now, these next lines are interesting because Pusha T also alluded to this as well. He says, it was fun until you started to put money in the streets, then lost money because they came back with no receipts. I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed. Now, Drake has been known to try to put money out there to get dirt on people. Pusha T tweeted this a while ago in 2018. He said, you got 100K floating around for info. Can't no amount of money create skeletons that don't exist. Hashtag I'm upset with the laughing emoji. And Kendrick is saying, listen, this was a fun battle, but now you're taking it to a more personal level and you're trying to find dirt on me that just doesn't exist. I live a boring life. I have nothing going on that you can find out about me. I'm out here taking care of my kids, hanging out with my wife, doing regular things. And then he says, listen, I love peace. I love being at peace, but if you want this battle, if you want this war, let's get at it. Then he says the Elohim KTW. The Elohim is a god in Hebrew in the Old Testament, and then Drake obviously has his Jewish heritage from his mom, Sandy Graham. He went to Hebrew school as a child and even had a bar mitzvah. And it's simple. He's saying, I am God in this situation. And the KTW could mean quite a few things. It could mean Kendrick the Warrior, King of the West, or King of the World. But I think KTW means something else. And it's literally 2 lines later. He says, know the wires. I think that's what it means. It's saying, hey, I'm a god in this situation, and I know what's going to happen to your camp and how I'm going to leak all of this information. I know ahead of time before you do. So he says, no, you can't sleep. These images trouble you. This is where he says the KTW thing. He says, know the wires in your circle should puzzle you. In these lines saying that Drake can't sleep, he's having trouble, he's trying to figure out who is the person having the secret wire on him to record everything that he says and does. Following that, he says, if you were street smart, then you would have caught that your entourage is only to hustle you. And this is once again doubling down on Drake never really being street, never really being part of a culture. When you have street smarts, you can pick up on things that regular people that just have book smarts can't pick up on because you've experienced a lot of different things in the streets. And the thing is, this isn't far-fetched. We've had a lot of people, a lot of artists, where people in their own camp feed people information and cause these downfalls. Then Kendrick, in these next lines, breaks down all the people in OVO's camp and how many people actually want to see his downfall in that camp. He says, 100 guys that you got on salary, and 20 of them want you as a casualty. And one of them is actually next to you, and 2 of them is practically tired of your lifestyle. Just don't got the audacity to tell you. Kendrick is saying you pay 100 people. They're all on your salary. About 20 of them don't like you and want a casualty, something to happen to you. One of them is actually really close next to you. Now, this could be 40 because if you remember Pusha T when he was battling Drake, he said 40 is the one that fed him the information because 40 ended up sleeping with a woman, and then he told that woman all the stuff about Drake, and she ended up telling Pusha T.
The information came from 40. It didn't come from Kanye. 40 is sleeping with a woman, speaks about how he's disgruntled about certain things, notoriety and things involving Drake and his career, so on and so forth.
To this young lady?
Yes. Okay. With that also came the fact that Drake has a child.
So Kendrick might be doubling down on this, saying this person next to you, who 40 is very close to Drake. I mean, he's an engineer, so everything Drake records, he's there in the studio hearing, even the unreleased stuff. And then he says 2 of them is practically tired of your lifestyle, which can allude to anybody. I mean, maybe Chubbs is tired of being Drake's security because all the stuff that he probably does, or maybe, you know, whoever else is in the OVO camp, that Drake's doing a daily lifestyle thing that people just aren't approving of. And then he says they just don't got the audacity to tell you, because obviously if you're working for somebody and your check relies, you know, on them and on their work, then most of the time you're going to be a yes man. You're not going to be honest with the person about things. And that's how people end up turning on you, because they're too scared to tell you the truth and things. But I think for the most part, Drake has had a solid team. I mean, throughout the years, Drake wouldn't be as successful if he had a team that wasn't all in one and staying together. Drake's had a solid team that's been together for a while. Then in these next lines, Kendrick Lamar gives Drake some game, you know, because Kendrick's from the streets, has culture, and it alludes to the earlier lines where he talks about Raphael, you know, teaching a son. So he's going to teach Drake, who is his son, in this situation. In these lines, he says, but let me tell you some game, because I can see you, my little homie. You playing dirty with propaganda, it's going to blow up on you. Now, looking back on these lines with all the information that I know now, when we first heard the track, you could kind of allude to the fact that Drake's trying to look for this dirty information, and it's going to blow up back on him because Kendrick has more dirty information. But looking back on it now with all these tracks that came out, he's saying, listen, I know what you're going to say on your Family Matters track that hasn't come out yet. And it's gonna blow right back on you because I'm gonna release a track right after that. Looking back on it now, it makes sense that he said that. And this also can refer to, you know, Drake using Tupac's AI voice and how that backfired on him, because this track, like I always said, is a response to the tailor-made freestyle. And that Tupac AI voice blew back on him with the lawsuit and the cease and desist. Then he says you're playing nerdy with Zach Bia and Twitter bots. Zach Bia is a huge figure in the nightlife and entertainment scene. And Kendrick is saying you're using these guys, your industry connects, to help you in this situation. And then you're playing these social media nerd games by hiring Twitter bots. And there's a real thing as Twitter bots, by the way, that spew this type of information that is false. And this happened, it was very noticeable when Pusha T, back in like 2023, there were random stuff mentioned about Pusha T and random non-facts, just random things about Pusha T that weren't true, that were making Pusha T trend. And Pusha T was even confused, like what's going on in this situation. And a lot of people were confused. And people just alluded to the fact that maybe Drake hired bots or these nerds to kind of put out this fake information out there that's not real. And Kendrick is saying you're going to do the same thing. You're going to manipulate the votes. You're going to manipulate the streams. You're going to manipulate things to make it seem like you're actually doing better than you are in this battle. Then in these next lines, Kendrick once again attacks Drake's character, his soul, who he is as a man and a person. He says, but your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. Your little memes is losing steam. They figured you out now. Basically, all the smoke and mirrors. We know it's all bullshit, is what he's saying. Then he says, the forced opinions is not convincing. Y'all need a new route. This is media, man. I was talking about this during the podcast. I said media manipulates how people view things. It could be referring to academics or just people in the media in general that are pushing for this agenda for Drake to constantly win in things and manipulate how this battle is going. And then these last two lines, it's genius the way he ends this off. He says, it's time that you look around on who's around you. Before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. Of course, as we know, Drake likes to compare himself to Michael Jackson, so Kendrick Lamar has a play on this by saying, before you figure that you're not alone, which is a Michael Jackson song, You Are Not Alone. Written by the way, R. Kelly. And as we know, R. Kelly's history with younger women and, Kendrick Lamar alluding that Drake likes younger women, and we find that out later on Not Like Us. He's having a play on words with this saying, think about You're Not Alone, the Michael Jackson song. R. Kelly wrote that. Think about that, the deep layers in that. And then he said, ask what Mike would do in this situation, which is a play, I think, on Drake's track, What Would Pluto Do? And then Pusha T had a track called What Would Meek Do? And he's saying, listen, think about how would Michael Jackson handle this? Say, what would Mike do? Think, have a self-reflection. And of course, Michael Jackson has songs self-reflecting, like The Man in the Mirror, that song. And this leaves an open gate to interpretation. It leaves Drake wondering, how should I figure out the situation? Is there really a mole in there? And that's the point of this whole track, is to get Drake questioning, does he actually have a mole in his camp? If he does, who is it? What's going on? Do people want to see his downfall in his own camp? Do they not? What's the situation? And Kendrick Lamar executed this properly on this track. And that's it for the bars breakdown of this track. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm currently working on all the other diss tracks. There's 4 more that I got to break down. The Family Matters one, of course, the Meet the Grams one, the Not Like Us record, and then the Heart Part 6 by Drake. Give me some time, as it will take a little bit long to do these things. Some of these tracks are 7 minutes long, so it takes a little while, but that's it for the breakdown of 616 in LA. Now that we are done with the breakdown, let's get into the Billboard Hot 100 charts, which are going to update next week with Kendrick potentially being number 1. But right now, Taylor Swift and Post Malone, Fortnite's number 1. $1 Million Baby, Tommy Richmond debuted at number 2. I've heard that this guy was like a new artist that just randomly popped up. It's crazy, man, some of this stuff. A bar song, Tipsy, Shabuzi, which is like a country remix of Jaquan's Tipsy. Pretty good record. Espresso, Sabrina, number 4. Beautiful Things, Benson Bone, number 5. Lose Control, Teddy Swims, number 6. Too Sweet, Hosier, number 7. Like That, Future, Metro Boomin, Kendrick Lamar, number 8. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, Taylor Swift, number 9. Down Bad, Taylor Swift, number 10. Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria debuted at number 11. But this is scheduled potentially to be at number 2 next week, with Not Like Us being number 1. SZA Saturn, number 12. Push-Ups Drake, number 17. Going down the list, bunch of Taylor Swift stuff. Type Shit, Future, Metro Boomin, number 31. Get It Sexy, Sexy Red, number 32. Wannabe, Glorilla, Megan Thee Stallion, number 34. Yeah, Glorilla, number 38. Carnival, Ye, Ty Dolla $ign, number 42. Red Rum, 21 Savage, number 46. Act 2, Date at 8, 4 Bats featuring Drake, number 54. Or 53, sorry. Fiend, Travis Scott, number 60. Going down, there's a lot. Cinderella, Future, Metro Boomin, number 76. Cardi B, Enough, Miami, number 81. Yeah, that's really about it. Oh, Let's Go, Young Dolph, and Key Glock, number 100. That sucks. I was hoping this would be a little bit higher up, but hey, it is what it is, man. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Once again, I apologize, guys. The episodes might be coming out late sometimes. I don't think I'm gonna miss another episode unless like some crazy stuff happens again, where like they release 4 new diss tracks. But if episodes come out a little bit later, it's because of all this breakdown stuff and a lot of stuff that I can't really control. Sometimes personal things in my life pop up that I can't control. So just bear with me. I'm going to get all this content out for all you guys. And, we'll have a fun time breaking this stuff down. So, appreciate you guys. Sponsored by, of course, or powered by, better yet, the Golden Eagle Energy Drink. Please check them out at drinkgoldeneagle.com/DMP. They sponsored all of season 4 of the podcast. So check them out. Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day whenever you listen to this. And peace.